Alright, and we're back, and we are seeing Hiya in a little bit of trouble now. Goes for a drop against Leta, but it basically fails. Leta able to defend against, I think it was 5 or maybe 6 dropships in his natural expansion. Just before that, Leta was able to prevent Hiya from taking his 4th base, although it looks like he is now floating over a command center to take his 4th base in a different position, and actually at the same time building his 5th base, what will be his 5th base, in that same position. So, Hiya really needs at least one of these expansions to go up to stay competitive economically and hopefully can continue his lead economically, which he has had since almost the beginning of the game, when Leta sort of failed to do a proxy barracks and then was forced to defend after Hiya counterattacked. Meanwhile, Leta still, it looks like his wraiths are all gone. I still haven't seen his upgrades. Right now, Hiya is at +1 weapons, now +2 weapons maybe. But Leta going in for a counter drop to try to stop this 5th expansion, which would be very bad for him. This is right around the time in the game where you'd expect your main base to get mined out pretty shortly, so slowing down expansions right now actually can be quite critical. And so Leta is able to take out that 5th expansion. I don't know if he's going to be able to go back and stop that 4th. The 4th looks like it is well established by now, and Hiya going in with another group of dropships to try to do some harassment. They're showing that Leta has good turret placement around his bases, so I don't know how successful these are going to be. It really depends on where Hiya decides to take those dropships. Leta on his own he's just a master of dropship play. He's got his own dropships running around as sort of a task squad. It took out that last base. Might try to go in and take out another base, I'm not sure. He doesn't want to end up in the same position that that Hiya was just in, where he loses all of those forces without doing much damage. Meanwhile, Leta is taking what would be his 5th base, I believe. I thought it was his 6th, but no, he never put down his 5th, so that it would be his 5th base. And both of these Terrans are still posturing around the middle trying to gain map control. Right now it's turning out to be a pretty even split, with Leta taking most of the north half of the map, while Hiya has most of the southern part of the map, but he doesn't quite have the southwest yet. But he has creeped up the eastern side just a little bit, so they are even, I believe, now in bases, unless Leta's 5th base is able to get up and running. Hiya coming in with dropships, dropping on tanks by Leta, but he runs into just a huge ball that Leta has built up in the middle of the map. This map does have sort of like a Andromeda style middle expansion that, it's really a double expansion, but, it's unlikely that anyone will ever hold that for very long, just because it's completely vulnerable from all sides. But that is where Leta is stationed with a large number of tanks. He's trying to move forward now, but Hiya is good position just to the south of that. And it's going to be on Leta to try to drop on those tanks to clear them out. Instead, it looks like Leta's taking his dropships, going around and scouting for any other possible expansions. He doesn't want, he wants to do anything that he can to prevent Hiya from taking any more bases. And it looks like he's doing just that right now, stopping yet another expansion by Hiya. So I feel like the tides are turning a little bit in favor of Leta. He's been able to put a lot of pressure on new bases from Hiya, and Hiya's really scrambling to try to keep up economically. Neither player in particular trouble economically right now. Both have plenty of bases and are able to pump out tons of units, as you can see right here. But if Leta is able to keep Hiya from expanding over and over again, that will add up. Every one of those denied expansions adds up, and the later this game goes, the more those little defenses are going to become important. Still want to double check on the expansions. I wish they would click on some of these units. Oh, and it looks like Hiya there doing a good job of denying an expansion by Leta, but that command center still lives, so he's probably going to be able to retake that position once he gets some forces in the area. Leta still has some forces in that middle of the map, sort of controlling that middle area. But right now both players just building up an army, posturing around. This is becoming sort of a typical, slow, kind of boring Terran versus Terran. Both players unwilling to push into the other's huge groups of siege tanks. Both players, you know, to react to that, are building up even huger groups of siege tanks. The saving grace of this map, or excuse me, of this matchup right now, is those dropships, which have been pretty exciting. A lot of big drops, but not too much happening right now. Just a lot of territory back and forth, pushing and pulling, but eventually we are going to have to see one gigantic confrontation, and it might be coming up right now. It looks like Hiya is pushing in with at least 20 siege tanks. He looks like he's found what he thinks is a weak spot in Leta's defenses, and he could be right. Leta's having to drop down those units in his task force to try to help defend, and Hiya is pushing all the way up. He might be able to make it all the way into Leta's expansion right now. That is a huge group of siege tanks, and he's got more that are streaming into the natural expansion. A lot of Goliaths out there in the front, and wow, Leta's natural is completely mined out too, so his main and his natural are mined out. So resources are going to become scarce in the not too distant future. And Leta's actually he's being forced to lift off his command center at the natural expansion. Meanwhile, he's sending, oh no, this is really bad, sending his dropships directly over all of those Goliaths, loses at least one of them, and taking a lot of damage otherwise. So this has been a great move by Hiya. He's been able to move up, clear out a lot of Leta's units, and actually gain position in Leta's natural expansion. Leta still has, I believe, 3 other bases running in the northwest position. I believe that's the northwest main natural expansion and third expansion that he has taken. But losing his natural expansion, he didn't have all that many production buildings there, but still a big loss territorially. And now there's a huge wall between, you know, his main base and the rest of his bases. So his units are going to be coming from 2 sides, and you know, in between them he's just got to run through Hiya. And it looks like Hiya actually has taken another base over in the west position, I guess the 9 o'clock position, that Leta was trying to take earlier. Right now expanding once again. Oh no, he's going to have to cancel it because Leta's on top of it. But Hiya takes that 9 o'clock position that Leta was trying to get to earlier. Leta's still got the command center floating around there, but now that is Hiya's base, and if Hiya's able to hold that, that's going to be great for him, because it's going to be really easy for him to take the southwest base and the natural expansion eventually that he's been trying to get up, but Leta has denied a couple of times. Still, both players gathering resources, building up a big army. We've got actually quite a lot of starports going up for Leta. Well, he's got 2 already at least. He just lost one as a natural expansion. That might be why he's rebuilding, just so he can keep up dropship production. Hiya with well, I was going to say with a half-hearted attack with just 1 dropship going in on Leta's bases, but he brings in a lot of reinforcing tanks, and those are able to clear out those defenses that Leta had, and now those tanks are going to be pushing all the way towards that northwest expansion. Leta, this is going to be very critical for Leta to defend. Those are all of his producing bases right now. So if Hiya is able to take down those bases, then Leta's just going to be in a lot of trouble. So far it looks like Hiya has paused with that attack right now, trying to get some more units. Leta has some units just kind of scattered around the field. I think he needs to unify them in a hurry and try to take out this giant group that Leta has built up. Leta is building another sizable fleet of dropships, filling them up, so those troops will be mobile to help defend if necessary, but I think what he really wants to do is go and take out one of those bases, maybe that 9 o'clock base that Hiya set up. But Hiya now moving in, he's trying to cross the bridge, he's trying to get into the natural expansion in the northwest. This is going to be a very critical fight. If he's able to push in across the bridge, what it looks like he is able to do, Leta's just going to be in huge amounts of trouble. This is very bad for Leta. That is a large number of tanks, and despite that upper ground advantage, he has lost all of those tanks that he brought in for reinforcements. He's having to lift off that command center. This is just huge amounts of trouble right now. Leta's in a bad way. He needs to stop these tanks somehow, but I don't know if he has the forces to do it. Geez, this is really critical moment, but we are going to have to take another